So before we get stuck in today's video, I just want to say thank you for the feedback and the support you've given to my channel so far. It means a lot, but only 16% of you that are watching my videos are subscribed to my channel. So I guess all I want to say is if you're new to the channel, go down and hit that subscribe button, flick that bell on to be notified whenever I upload a new video. But I guess now that I've got through that, again, thanks for the support, but time to get on to the video. Hey everyone, welcome to a new video for this week. It's a bit different now that we haven't got any sports on, but I feel that this video will be pretty good, hopefully do alright. I'm going to look back on this one at the seasons that we've just gone through with the NRL and AFL and who I think handled it the best given everything that went on this year during the fact that we had to have a break and how they came back from it. So let's get into it. First of all, full credit to the AFL, NRL, all the governments that helped us get the seasons finished, to the teams that relocated throughout the season. Obviously, you had the Warriors in the Rugby League and Melbourne as well. Like, you had Warriors completely relocate, leave their families behind. You had Melbourne moved up to Queensland. I'm pretty sure they went with their families. But yeah, full credit to you guys. Like, can't express thanks enough for the way you guys kept the rugby league season going. To the AFL, like, full credit to all the Victorian clubs that relocated to Queensland to get this season going with their families, and full credit to the Queensland government for what they were able to do, to the New South Wales government for the way they were able to handle it as well and getting the season going down here. Well done, guys. Like, it was so close there at a point that the seasons weren't going to happen, but we were able to get through that, able to get the seasons going, and at least we had that some form of normality that every weekend we could look forward to some sport. But I also want to look on who I think ran it the better. It's one of those things that's very personal in who you believe ran their season better. But I probably would have to say I think AFL, I feel, ran it the best. You look at the way they were able to, yes, they had no crowds for as long as rugby league, but the way they were quickly able to get the crowds in and the way that it created to the atmosphere, just watching it on the TV, created to the atmosphere more than the rugby league. I can't speak on going to the AFL with the reduced crowds. I only did that with the rugby league for the one game this year. And obviously it was going to be different, and it was extremely different. The big thing for me going forward is, like, are we going to have reduced crowds again next year? And if we do, how reduced? And how are we going to make the most of the crowds that we can have at the events? I'm hopeful that if we are reduced, it's not as much as it was this year. But at the same time, we don't know how things are going to be moving forward throughout the pandemic that we've been going through, and where that sits us, again, heading into next season. And also, we need to look at what to keep from this season in the codes in AFL and NRL heading into next year. AFL, I definitely think we have to go back to 20-minute quarters. You saw so many games this year with with really low scores compared to normal, and I just, like, they were tight games, but yet again, those the full length quarters just make it such a more enjoyable experience, if in my opinion. And you look at the grand final, admittedly, it had the injuries and you had the idiots run on the field. You got, I think what was it, about 2 quarters that went longer than the same quarters in last year's grand final in full time. Like, obviously, you can't prepare for injuries or idiots, but I still reckon that 20-minute quarters is the best thing for the AFL. I think the two things that for rugby league and AFL you can look at taking forward potentially are the in and out trips. What was it? There was a lot of the time this year rugby league. I know the Sharks did it when they went up to Townsville to play the Cowboys. That in and out, and it was very much a solid game from the team. I think looking forward, that could be a way to go. But I don't know. It's a hard thing to talk about. Being such a strange year, next year hopefully being a bit more normal. But I think that's something that we can sort of look at. Something there, like looking at the NRL. I think some of the rules we need to look at altering again, as I've touched on in previous videos, is the likes of the 6 again rule. I think we need to look at the teams that are utilising that to try and gain an advantage, penalise that a bit more. I think that's the one thing we really need to look at. AFL, NRL, I think they both nailed it this year, but I think the AFL was just slightly better. And you look at the way the AFL had their crowd at the grand final seemed so much more full. I know the NRL only had about 50%, but even watching it with my friends, I still feel like they could have separated the crowd a lot better. In my opinion, I think what they should have done is leave a seat between every person, so that way you can still fill the stadium. It'll seem more full than it did. Did seem. Obviously, it was half empty. It seemed more than half empty. I think if you had one seat between each person, it would have seemed a lot more fuller, and it could have created a better atmosphere. But again, it's a weird year. We just have to cope with what we're dealing with. And then I think I saw a post, I'm pretty sure it was on Rugby League, I'm not sure about the AFL. They had bigger member numbers, bigger broadcast numbers, but yet again, members numbers, that's good, getting money into the clubs during a tough period, but you've got to look at the broadcast numbers. Obviously crowds are down, less people can go to the games. We need to try and work out a way that we keep people at the games for one, but then also keep those viewership numbers up as well. It's going to be difficult, I know, given the fact that, as I said, less people were able to go to the games, so that meant more people having to watch on television, which increases the broadcast ratings. But going forward, we need to work out a way that we can get that sort of even plateaued with each other, so people attending and watching all the events are brilliant, good numbers. You see the AFL, they do that year on year really well. Solid numbers and solid crowd attendances. But as I said, I think the AFL definitely handled things a lot better this year. Hopefully, Rugby League, I've been saying for years, there's things they can learn from the AFL. For example, you look at the Dally M compared to the Brownlow. The Brownlow is, in the AFL, such a prestigious event. It's the one thing I always look forward to kickstart grand final week. Again, Rugby League, I have lost interest. Back into the finals, I did start to pick up a bit, so I don't know, that's a good sign coming into next year that I may be back more committed than I felt I was going to be this year. But I think the NRL needs to change the way the Dally M is done. I definitely think they need to look at the AFL system where the match officials vote. You can still have your broadcast man of the matches where the money gets donated to a charity or the players' team that they grew up playing for. Could be a way to go. But I definitely think you need the match officials to adjudicate the best and fairest for the competition. But again, there's just a few of the things that I think we need to look at in terms of rugby league to keep going, because as far as I'm concerned, I've spoken to other people, they've said the same thing. They feel that rugby league is starting to die in this country, but there could be a few ways to bring it back up to scratch. But that'll be the end of the video. As always, if you enjoyed what you've seen, like the video, share it around, and like always, let me know in the comments below, what did you enjoy out of the season this year in such a weird year? What did you enjoy out of the NRL, AFL? Didn't even touch on the A-League, which did great to get through their season. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the way the seasons ran and how they finished. And most importantly, what would you take from season 2020 going forward? What's one or two things that you think work this year that we need to look at keeping in the games going forward? Let me know in the comments below. But as I always say, keep living a great life. Peace.